And welcome back To Be Fair, a podcast hosted by Ehryn, and that is none other than I. So, welcome. And of course, with me today is the lovely Lisa. Of course, why wouldn't the lovely Lisa be here?
Yeah, I'm everywhere. Hello.
Yeah, you're basically a deity.
All right, let's not get carried away. If I was a deity, I'd be the most basic.
You're,
I'm the
you're the goddess. You're the goddess of basicness.
yes, yes, I am. Yes, I am the goddess of basic. You know what? I'll
Ah,
take what I can get.
you kind of froze up there for a moment. Okay.
Hello,
Oh, you know what else? Not you. Hello.
hello.
Okay. Hello. Stop freezing.
I
You're a
didn't.
jerk. But
Touche.
you did freeze though. You keep freezing. Like you legit freeze and then you fake freeze, and I never know which is which. Well, I
Oh,
can usually tell which one is which because sometimes you freeze in the most attractive of faces.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yes, like yeah. Like,
so I'm just hoping it's
okay, enough of the faces.
I'm just hoping it's not gonna, I'm hoping it's not going to translate over because I'm getting really stressed and irritated lately. Can you tell?
Yeah,
Have you been able to tell
yeah,
that
a little
I've been
bit.
irritable, like just from social media and stuff? Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I
What
feel you.
have
I'm
you
right there.
noticed?
What have I noticed? Your posts tend to get a little more serious when you're feeling some kind of way. There hasn't been a lot of fun, like wacky. A lot of them have been articles and things on like important topics instead of funny memes mixed in with that. And that's kind of when I know, like, something's going downtown. So, I mean, that's the
I'm
big
gl-
one. That
I
and
am glad that
we
you
keep not
noticed. I mean,
recording. That's the other big one is that you and I keep not recording. So, and
I
here's my
know,
eyes going shifting. No, why? I don't care. Get out of here.
and I think we're delayed.
Are we?
Yeah, like so we're gonna have to make sure we take pauses after we do a sentence or so, just for the listeners now to know that we are accepting that and to not stop listening to this podcast because we can do this. Like right now, you
Yes,
look
we can.
fine. Yeah, look, I think we've caught up, but sometimes, just in case, if you feel that we need to just take pauses, this is something we
Mm-hmm.
probably should do as podcasters anyway. And that's kind of bringing up an excellent point of one of my reasons why I'm irritable is just I get in my head a lot about the podcast for sure, because it's a lot of work. There's so much work to be
Yes.
put into it, and it's like I have nothing to compare it to. Nobody's giving me any feedback. And the people who are kind people giving me, oh, it's really good. I'm like, okay, but when you say it's really good, that means that I feel like there's a level I can still work on. So can you give me, and it's like nobody wants to give me any feedback. And sometimes I'm like, is it because I'm so nuts? Like people are just worried that I'm just gonna snap.
I honestly, I don't know. Um, People have a hard time giving constructive criticism. Maybe they don't want to like pop your balloon or something.
Yeah, I suppose.
Um, but then that's not being honest, And then uh, if I love it, all I can see is adulting. Some yes, yes, it is. Um, and I guess if they're not willing to give you honest feedback, then I mean they're not doing us any favors by being like,
Correct.
"Oh, it's great, it's fantastic." Blah, blah, blah. Well, then tell your friends and make them listen.
Yeah. I mean, I've asked so many people and even other podcasters, and I don't know. I just don't know. So, like, I'm wondering, is our podcast that crappy that, like, people are just like, oh, don't ruin their delusion of being podcasters? Like, That's what I get in my head about.
Yeah.
I know that we are doing a good podcast. I know because I listen to it every single time after we record before I even put it out there. I make sure that I'm not putting anything that I won't stand behind out there.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know. I mean, like, I'm like, there's a formula sometimes. So I'm like, okay, what's the formula? What am I missing? So I'm trying to grow that direction. So, um, part of my depression that's hitting me right now too is that I was planning a trip to New Orleans this fall.
Yeah.
And we had like so many different things started happening recently as we got closer to the event. We had booked this last January. You know, we had this all
Hmm.
planned out. So I was just saving money. It was one of my goals for this year was saving money to do something like that. But my instincts and my own spirituality of the cosmic thing forces that be um, is somehow maybe telling me that it's not my time to travel there at the time we're supposed to go, because like all these little things kept adding up and we are just like, you know what, let's just cancel it. It's really getting to be a headache because, well, what happened is it's Jazz Fest during that weekend, which it wasn't announced that, and when we booked the place, because we booked the planes and the Airbnb, um
Right.
and then uh all of a sudden the Airbnb canceled on us, like just out of the blue.
I didn't
One
even
of
know that was possible.
Yeah, well, like, you can, because just like if you're an Uber driver, you can cancel and oops, book another Uber. Um,
Well,
but
yeah, I guess if you look at it that way.
so yeah, you can. All these little third-party sites to do this have that ability, but that's not the point. The point was is he canceled, and my friend Janelle, who had booked, you know Janelle, um,
Hmm.
she messaged him and was like, "Oh, just kind of curious what happened," because she only learned by getting the refund. All of a sudden, she's like, well, "We got a refund for the
Oh my.
Airbnb," and I'm like, "Did they give you a reason?" And she's like, "I'm messaging." And so she messaged, and it took a couple days, and he responded, and he informed us that it was because the city did not renew his rental license for Airbnb, because you have to have a license number for those on. That was what he told me, but then it was as we were trying to look for other uh, other Airbnbs, and I even started using Burbo because since we're TikTokers now, that advertises to us all the time. So I
Oh
don't know if
yeah.
Burbo advertises to you, but I was like, oh, well, there it goes. So I looked on Burbo even, and we found a bunch that we liked, but all of a sudden they were getting snatched. Like if we did not pick them in that time frame, they were gone, and the prices just kept getting higher and higher. And finally, somebody said, "Oh, well, it's Jazz Fest that weekend that you're going." And I was like, "Well, like one of I think the next busiest time to be in New Orleans next to Mardi Gras is
Yeah.
Jazz Fest." So, I mean, it's clearly these Airbnbs want to make money off of it. It's just like when I worked in the hotel world in Duluth with Grandma's Marathon. It's such a
Oh
big
yeah.
deal about how that's booked. You have meetings about that, and
Hmm.
ugh. I remember one year when I had to be a co-leader of how we were operating for it, and oh my god, it was such a rush, but I mean, it was intense,
Hmm.
and we made it through, and I was so happy because it was such an experience to learn through from. Anyway, but the point was, so they canceled us, and as we're watching these prices just go up, we're just like, it's getting out of our budget by that point. Once the rooms
Yeah.
like 200, 300 a night, and we're going to be there for 4 nights, and so each of us were going to pay for one night, it was starting to just not make any sense. So we decided to cancel. So I have money now that I have saved for that, and I was like, I'm trying to figure out what to do with it. I mean, I'm going to save some in general, but I want to do something with it because it was clearly going for a goal for me. And I'm kind of starting to get a little anxious with the shutdown happening. Well, not shutdown, but like we're getting back into these Delta variants. Just like I was telling people, I'm like, you don't just slough these Delta variants off. We sloughed COVID off in the beginning. Like, this is what
True.
we are fighting in a pandemic, and everyone thinks that, oh, I'm like, that's just phase one, people. If you're not going to take this vaccine, we're not having enough weapons against it. So now it's evolving. And
Welcome to science fiction,
thank you.
which
And
is reality.
yes, and that's what I was saying is like it's turning everything. Uh, I will say that at least it's not predictable, but it becomes predictable at some point because the Delta variant. I was like, guys, I'm like, this is gonna get bad again. I wouldn't be surprised. I even called it like, what didn't I call it on our camping trip? I think I was like, oh, I can guarantee we're gonna be back in masks by fall.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, Lollapalooza,
I
freaking,
cannot believe they're doing Lollapalooza.
they did it. It's over now, but
Oh, it's over.
yeah,
I'm
and it was crowded.
yeah.
And so I'm like, well, that's not helping things. So that's why, like, I'm even at the point where I might have to cancel some of my other trips. I am booking, you should know, to come down to Black Bear Casino on October 15th.
Heyo, you know I'll be there.
Yeah, you know why it is?
No.
90 degrees.
I'm sorry. Did you say 98 degrees?
Sure did.
Okay, so when Troy gets home, he's buying me a ticket immediately.
Oh my God, I hope we could sit close to each other. The tickets aren't on sale till tomorrow.
Okay.
And they're like 50 to 75 bucks. I'm not really sure. I'm coming down with a couple other friends from here, but we could kind of try to coordinate, and I can talk to my friend Amanda and see if we could coordinate in a
Well,
group.
I can always buy it online. Like, you let me know, like, which tickets you get.
I know, but what if they're going to go so fast? I don't know. I mean,
I have money. I would just prefer Troy to pay for it. So
we're saying this all on the podcast. I just want that to be clear.
I know I sound like such. That was not basic. That was not well, maybe it was. That was a little white trash.
Okay.
But no, I mean,
in all fairness, we have to clarify this for the listeners, to the fact
yes.
that they know that you rely on him as part of an income, because the way your guys' household works,
yes, I am a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah, so you rely on his income, and so he treats you with that kind of stuff every now and then to get you on a mom night out. And so so of course you're going to be like, I just want the listeners to know that you're not just a greedy bitch.
Right, I'm not a leech.
Yeah, I want people to know that this is an arrangement. This is how it works. This is how like things is.
Yes, this is our home. This is our household.
He goes and makes the income. Therefore, you have to ask him for the money. It's just how it works. Anyway, let's get off that topic. But
yeah, so just we'll talk after.
Anyway, listeners, I'm sorry you had to listen to that last like couple minutes there of that. But everyone should know that 98 Degrees will be at Black Bear Casino on October 15th. And so, yeah. Is that a dog whining?
Yes.
Which one?
Which one is it always?
Xander. Ah, I knew it.
Yes, he's a baby. And he's a heifer. I shouldn't body shame my dog. It's not his fault.
So there's the other big thing that's been kind of triggering me. Let me finish, is that this money, I've decided that I think I'm going to actually buy a desktop computer so I can actually start editing our stuff a little bit more.
A desktop?
Yeah, I have enough to buy a nice desktop computer. I feel like I have a laptop for work, and that's fine. I love my laptop for work, but I'm like, you can't do the same editing functions on a laptop as easy.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry, I'm just grabbing something to drink. I don't mean to.
I'm going to buy a desktop so I can use it.
You left.
That's fine. It's just delaying you again now that you've gotten out of your sweet spot. Who left?
Sorry, I'm sorry. You did. It just turned into a giant E. It did it again.
You're a giant E.
Yeah, for excellent.
It's because you're moving. I've done nothing different.
I know. I suck.
have done nothing different. You.
Watchers, listeners, I apologize. I was thirsty. Haha, joke. But I needed to get something to drink. Are you just waiting angrily at me? Don't shake your head like a disgruntled parent. You shook your head like
Oh,
you were
stop
disappointed.
using Schitt's Creek quotes again.
What? That just came out of my brain. Is that a Schitt's Creek thing? What? Who am I kidding? Everything is Schitt's Creek. It's weird to see Dan Levy in commercials that are for exercise. I love the pancake commercial.
He's coming out with a book. He's
What?
coming out with a book.
Oh,
He's
I heard
writing a
you.
book.
I heard you. I
I'm
was just
so
very
excited for
excited.
this book. I know. I wanted to make sure the listeners really heard that too.
Dan Levy is coming out with a book.
Anyway, yeah.
Ugh,
So
pew.
anyway, yeah. So I'm going to buy the computer, or I'm thinking about it. I'm really contemplating on what I should really do. So,
That's awesome.
regardless, so
I
then another thing
apologize
that has
for
been
all,
kind
all
of
of the jostling.
because I'm on the so I guess I want to really talk about how one of my negative toxic behaviors is really acting out because of my symptomology. And it sucks when you're self-aware of it, but you still can't control it. Like, I'm aware that I'm just going nuts. I'm sure, I'm
Oh my
going
God, I
off the
can't wait to
rails.
tell
I
you my
get it.
story.
But I usually have a target, like who I'm able to focus that hatred that has been in like boiling up inside my body. And so it's like I have some friends that help me draw it out, but it's not really working out anymore. So I okay. So bear with me with this whole next part of this story because I don't want it to make me look like I'm a total asshole, but I'm acting like one. And I know better. Like, I feel that I should be better than this. But right now I'm just not. So, okay. It's no secret that I have like this personal issue with how my community theater here in town is operated, the Grand Rapids Players. That's the only time I'm going to name them, though, in this whole thing, because I'm not going to just keep dropping that name like it's, because it's a fantastic organization and this community needs it. But right now, it is my belief that it is being operated very poorly. So that's all I want. I want to make sure that that sets it up there. But unfortunately, because I believe that, it gives me negative emotions towards the people that are on the board making calls.
Yeah.
So, and I don't like that because I do like these people as human beings, but getting a whole bunch of people like us. And the reason I feel I do this is because I internalize a lot of it because we are all theater people and we all have different visions and ideas because we're creative people. So we don't think alike. None of us do. Our minds are, I mean, you know this as a creative person yourself. Our minds are so different, but sometimes they vibe with each other. So, and you and I vibe with each other very well, and we have forever.
Yes.
I mean, we always talk about one of our favorite proudest things about us is that we could literally stop talking to each other for like 10 years and pick up right where we left off. Like, hey, girl, what's up?
Yes.
Remember karaoke 18 years ago?
Yeah, now I have arthritis in my face, so I can't sing anymore. No.
But still, that's where we're getting there. I mean, when we're still doing this podcast in 10 years, we'll be a little bit older.
Yes.
That's how science works.
It is.
So anyway, but yeah, so I get these toxic behaviors that come out, and I can't always control them, even though I'm aware of them. It's almost like it's another person. And I want to be very clear that I'm not just copping out. I am taking full responsibility for my behaviors when I act out. I really want people to be aware of that as well. But in my perspective, when I get to these moments, it's almost like somebody else is controlling. You could say demonic possession if you believed in that kind of stuff, which I do for movies and stuff. But I mean, It's possible. I'm one of those people that's open to it. I mean, I guess there could be demons that could possess people. When I see these movies like The Conjuring, I'm like, I mean, it's plausible. I'm not counting it out, but I'm like,
Right.
I haven't seen it happen in real life yet, so I'm not really confident that it's real for me. So, um, anyway, that's how I look at things. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not my place to try and tell somebody what they have seen and experienced. And that's one of those things that we really have to kind of get to know. And I'm aware of that. And that's one of my goals. I think that's what I want to do is just get to that point where I hate less because I don't think we're ever going to be void of hate.
Unfortunately, not.
It's just that unfortunately it is why everyone preaches that love is such an important thing to remember because that is the thing that is clinging us to our humanity. We're gonna get
Yes.
deep, girl. We're gonna get deep.
Oh boy.
Okay. Now, just to that point to illustrate this next part. So, I have been acting really terrible to um, the organization, I'd like to say, of the Grand Rapids players right now. Oh, I
So
wasn't
that
supposed to
sounds
say
like
it again. I won't say it
that
again.
sounds like a cult.
No.
You're like the organization.
Yes, and so I wanted it for dramatic effect because I really want to make sure that I don't want to make me the villain in the story, and I definitely don't want to make them the villain in the story. I really wanted to make sure that people know that it's unfortunately just how passionate I am about the performing arts and how I believe that things can be a higher thing. Someone else believes that too, but not necessarily on my path.
Right.
So, and so that's what I have to remind myself is that I don't have to try and control everything. And for some reason, I have been behaving it to the fact that I believe that the players should listen to my voice and do and think of me as their all-knowing person. Like, where do I get off? Where do I get off on trying to act like that? I I hate when people act like that. It's one of those things that I'm like, when I'm working in the theater for the last how many years that I've done it, there's so many people that are literally they know everything about theater. They're the end all be all. And I don't like those types of people. Why am I allowing myself to become that person and be so judgmental and be so highly critical? Like I never
Ego's a sneaky thing.
yeah, I never used to be this person. I was always that person that, and I still am that person in the way that I still believe that everybody is like, I believe in the talents of others, even if I don't believe in their
Mm-hmm.
personalities. Like,
Sure.
I have some friends that I struggle with getting along with, but and I would say that we fight. I probably treat them more like crap than they treat me, but I think there's a lot of give and take there. I'm not going to take
Mm-hmm.
full responsibility for any drama, but I do take my responsibility. And
Fair.
yeah, and so so that's here nor there, but um, I think that they're talented people, and I think that's why I let myself be that way is because I feel like that's my only way to communicate with people is that extra dramatic force that people can feel my emotion, but I let them,
Is
and that's what I'm saying. Here's my problem is that my belief, I know I just cut you off and that's not fair. I'll bring you back. But
no, it's fine. I'll wait
so
my turn. It's cool.
in the way that I believe, I want to be like a muse and I want to inspire others to be best versions of themselves. And I've had that opportunity to find that in myself, but I don't know if people know that there's a lot of emotional baggage that I'm holding while I'm trying to balance all of that. And sometimes it gets heavy on one side.
Can I ask you a question?
I mean, yeah, peer support special.
Other than that, no. I just want to know, like, why do you feel it's your responsibility?
Exactly. Exactly.
And it's not like about a qualification, or it's like, why do you feel like you have to carry that weight of creativity?
I know. These are the questions I even ask myself. but yet
Hmm.
I cannot push myself out of um that way to operate. I
It's
try.
because change is hard.
Yeah. And
And
I suppose I
yeah.
got a little cocky, I will say, when my improv group really started to take off. And we
Well,
were
yeah, it's exciting and something you're
and then
proud of. And
but then COVID happened and like none of us got to perform. And
hmm
I felt like I was in this competition with other people to try and I gotta be one of the first to be back on the audience. It was like there was this climb back to the reality that we needed. I had so many opportunities during the pandemic to perform virtually, and I did. I took every opportunity I got. Um,
hmm
and I think it's because I have this personality that needs to be on stage, be seen, have attention. I mean,
validation.
yes, I have that personality and I'm big about it. So I try to draw it onto the energy to make it a personality that at least if people are going to give me attention, they're going to get entertained in return.
Yeah.
They're gonna learn something better about themselves. I don't want to be one of those people that adds that toxic energy into the world. But I can't. I haven't quite figured out how to prevent myself from doing that, and I'm trying really hard. And so, yeah, I've been a little right. Like the last few days, I've been just really shutting down, just because
hmm
I was beating myself up for being such a terrible person, but I was also still in that dark moment of being.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
I'm telling you, I
What?
didn't think I was a
No, no,
bad
no. I
person.
know, I know, I know, I know. But you are one of the last people I would ever say is a terrible person. Toxic behaviors aside, or you might have you might have habits or behaviors that you've been trying to change, but you are not a horrible person.
No, okay.
So I'm gonna
Yeah.
need you to reword that because
Well, and well,
I don't like it.
that's what I was also trying to say, that that's what I was telling myself.
Right, right.
Like, I'm not,
Negative self-talk
yeah.
is
Um,
it's
I'm like where I'm at right now. I'm fully aware that I'm not a terrible person. Like, I'm fully on board with that.
darn tootin'.
What I'm saying is that like a couple days ago, me did not agree with that at that moment.
Right, right.
So because I do hurt people's feelings. It's
Yeah.
I think it's important for people to know, especially because I get such positive feedback from my so many people in my community. They know me from just doing what I do, you
Right,
know.
just being you.
Yeah, my Facebook lives, this podcast, my like I know that I am a special person. And when I'm always worried about acknowledging that so publicly, because we as a society are left to believe that we are not supposed to be so boastful and prideful. We're not supposed to be um, trying to be the center of attention. It's like other people deserve it too. It's like, I don't like being associated to people who just want attention, because there are people who just want attention because they're lonely, which I mean, yeah, that's true. But I mean, then but for me, it's the fact that it's like, but I can still be surrounded by a whole bunch of people. And I know it's a cliche, and I can still feel super lonely
Oh
because
my gosh, same.
in a lot of my settings, especially just in northern Minnesota, including Duluth, even though there's so many more like-minded people in
Hmm
Duluth for me, um, I still felt like there's people who will never understand what I've been through, no matter how many times I try to talk about it.
Well, no, because that's your own story.
Hmm.
Just like my story is mine. I
Yeah.
mean, I could be standing in the same room with someone who's gone through something almost identical to me, but we have completely different experiences.
Oh, for sure. No, what I'm trying to say is like, but I'm trying to figure out how to tell my stories in a way that people can, like, I can really dive in with that emotion, bring them to my emotional level and feeling, and to feel that, like, when in the moment when if I'm telling a story where I felt so empty and full of despair,
Hmm
I want people to be able to come to that level to see and feel that emotion. And I'm trying to learn how to be that storyteller.
That's a
But
lot of expectations for yourself, though,
not necessarily, because but my problem
or
is
for someone else.
that's
Like,
attainable. It's a totally attainable thing. But it's just for me, because I have so much trauma to work with as well,
mm-hmm.
I it's hard for me to jump into those moments myself to try and remember those emotions and how they made me feel. And as I do them, though, I will say I have, for the positive, I've been be able to uncrack a lot of that stuff. And just recently, I was able to take a step into trying to admit my wrongdoings, finally letting down that guard of pride, to
Yeah.
try to be the first. I've always been that person. Like, I always had to be the first to apologize. I always have to be the bigger person, because, like, for some reason the other person is able to control that emotion more, and they, like, I feel like I need people more than people need me sometimes.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. Um,
Like,
I
not
get
you,
that.
and not you in that case, but like, I sometimes feel
No, no,
that
no, no. It's different. I know what you're talking about. Like, it's just even that superficial,
I don't
you
want
know.
I don't want friendships to ever end. I hate when they do. I always, if there's an opportunity to resolve something, I want to go for it. But there have been times where I try and then I make it worse.
Yeah. Growth is hard.
Yeah.
And a lot of my relationships that have ended in the last few years are due to growth. I am not in the same place. I'm not the same person. I don't want to deal with the same BS, and it's not out of malice or out of any ill emotions. It's just you just grow out of people, and that's okay. Some things aren't meant to be fixed.
No, I get it. I That totally makes sense. I know, but that's the thing, is that I have that rational self-awareness of all that. I'm
Hmm.
totally, everything you just said totally makes sense to me, and I feel like I know that.
Yeah,
Like,
but
I
the
do.
execution is different.
Exactly.
I
And
mean, I
that's
can ramble on all day, and it's at the end of the day, it's the execution that's the hard part because we're human.
one of my biggest flaws. And if you, I guess I might say regrets of how I chose to develop as a human, um, as an adult for sure, was that I really, for some reason, trusted other people to tell me what to do, to tell me how
Mm.
to operate my life.
Hmm.
I really did. I relied on so many people. I always relied on the validation for sure of other people to make sure that I'm getting through. And I mean, I'm aware. I just don't know how to get around that. And so sometimes I feel like I'm judged for that, for being that person. And so it makes me feel like I am less than others. And because I don't have that college education, I I only have what I have experienced in life. And I don't feel that that's any more valuable or less valuable than someone else's. Unfortunately, we put a value stamp on everybody when you go and put yourself into debt to get a 4-year degree. Um, and uh, you know, I mean, if you're in one of the 1 percentile, you're automatically going to go to college, and you're not even going to have to worry about the cost of it. You know,
Boo.
so it's like there are some of us who I still remember my stepdad when I can't remember how old I was, but I knew I still had many years left until I graduated high school. So I must have been maybe 12, 13, or 14, I guess. And I remember my stepdad, like, just came all of a sudden out of nowhere, said, "Oh, just so you know, none of you guys can go to college unless you can get any scholarships or anything." It's like he had no plan for anything. And here's the thing: is, as a kid, because for me, I never accepted my stepdad as my as any role in my life other than a pain in
Right.
the ass. Uh, I I don't know where I was gonna go with this, but
Do you feel less than because you didn't go to the typical 2 year, 4 year college and get
I feel
Like,
like I blamed myself a lot for making the choice to drop out of high school. Um, Even though I knew that there were circumstances that were just
see,
I
I don't
want
even ever like I don't even ever think about that with you.
I
Like
know
I don't even
I
every
know
time
you
you bring
don't,
it
but
up, but
I
I
know
know
you
it's
don't, but
different.
I
I
don't
know
know.
you do. And
Yeah,
but it's like your life experiences are worth so much more than $50,000 worth of debt. you know,
true.
I think that you have given back more to the people that you know and the people that you help with your peer support specialists than you probably ever would with a 4-year degree. And that's just my perception of the situation,
Yeah.
because mental health has been a huge part of your life and you have been growing in that and excelling in that.
Yeah, I know, but I guess it was just like I said when I didn't have the expectation that my stepdad was supposed to do any. I guess I never even it never crossed my mind about college when I was growing up. Nobody was grooming me for it. It just didn't. I feel like this could be a whole different podcast because I'm just going to basically like talk about my childhood, which we can,
Right.
we're going to do a therapy with Lisa.
Yay.
And
Wait. I'm Lisa. Wait, what?
yeah, you're going to be kind of like the therapist because you get like, but not the therapist. Like you're not going to diagnose me or anything, but
I
like
would never.
you're going to listen and try and help me navigate certain things as best as we can. Because
Hmm.
why? Because why? Because I can't afford a therapist, and so this is the next best thing. We can let
Because
every
that's what friends do.
and we can put this out on public social media for all to see.
And
And
hear and judge.
you know, I just want at least one person to comment on one of my posts for this.
Yeah,
That
I get I mean, I get that. Like it's frustrating, but like how do you get popular? I mean, podcasting's like high school. I feel like, if
I didn't know how to be popular in high school, so
yeah,
why
me neither. Me
would I
neither.
be popular now? You
You
know,
know, I mean, I feel like we're the pre Lindsay Lohan Mean Girls nerd group without the cool factor. If that made sense to anyone other than us, thank God.
it makes more sense than I can explain.
Like, are we the Janets of the world?
Like,
Probably.
do you know? Here's one thing I want you to know. There is a reboot or sequel to the movie She's All That coming out. It's called He's All That, and it's coming to
Nice.
Netflix like next week, I think, or the week after, or something. I'm excited because Rachel Lee Cook is in it,
Oh,
so it's
nice.
clearly to that whole universe. Like, so what is her role in this? I didn't see. I just know I saw her face in the trailer. But
Yeah.
yeah, so it looks good. But um, let's touch base just a little bit on one more subject before we wrap up, and that is I want to talk just a little bit about where we're going back into the like you're back in a mask requirement kind of thing in St. Louis County, aren't you?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes. I was in Walmart today and there was no mask.
I would check it out because um, Mike told me for sure that I was with what I've been hearing through work. Anyway, that's
I don't know. All
the
I know
point.
is that shit's been crazy for me. I put a hole in the wall in my bedroom. You want to talk about toxic behavior?
Okay, let's talk about you now.
You see my hand?
What'd you do? Why'd you do this? Is this why we couldn't record the other night? Because you
Yes.
okay? Are
Yes.
we wanting to share?
So, we had another family episode with one of our children,
Okay.
or an episode with one of our children, and we had to bring them to the doctor, and then we're told that there were no inpatient rooms for said child. And then the next day, they were left alone, and it wasn't for long. It was for an hour, but I'm a big what if person. Like, what if this did happen? What if this happened? Yeah, it didn't, but what if? What if?
Yeah,
What if? What if?
you're an overthinker like I am.
Yes, and I also don't think the same as my significant other. Like, that's hard for me. Like, why aren't you on the same
Yeah,
wavelength as me?
yeah, yeah.
Why
That
don't you think
expectation.
like I do?
Yep.
Why do you think that it was okay to leave this child home by themselves after what we just went through? Why? And so it escalated to a huge fight. Huge fight. And now I have a hole that I need to fix in my bedroom wall because I got so, it was like looking at myself outside of my body.
Yes. Just like
And
I was saying earlier. Yeah.
when I get like that, something's wrong. Like there's no reason. I don't know. I don't want to say no reason and, should. At that point, I felt that what I was saying was so much in the right that I didn't even consider what he had to say about his side of the situation. All I could think of is, what if they did this? What if they did that? What if they did this? But none of that happened. But like you said, I'm an overthinker. I'm an excessive worrier, especially when it comes to harm and injury and all this other stuff with the mental health. And so I got so angry, and it was either his face or the wall. And I refuse to be in a domestic abuse relationship, and I will domestically abuse the house because I'm not gonna, that's not who I am. And so I put my fist through the wall, thinking that it wasn't gonna go through the wall. Like that was not the end goal, but that's what happened. And I felt like an idiot because I have a higher standard. I have a higher expectation for myself, and I completely failed myself. Completely failed myself.
Yeah.
And a lot of things were said, and a lot of things were said out of anger, and I it was awful. It was awful, and it didn't need to happen. And the things, like when I scream at the top of my lungs, I hate you, that's a problem. And that's not because I actually hate him. It's because I am acting out because he didn't think the same way that I thought.
Yeah.
And that's
It's
one of my challenges.
it's that expectation versus reality kind of thing. Like
Yes.
where I know that that's how I grew up with my stepdad. I feel that he used to just like expect that I could figure things out because of he had that mindset. That's how his mind worked. So he like and so when I didn't figure things out the way that he expected me to, like especially when he was trying to teach me how to do a certain chore and I would need that
Mm-hmm.
extra help, he would just be totally mean all the time.
Yeah.
And that would escalate. And so it's like I never, even though he always tried to claim that he apologized for things that he did, it wasn't always just the big wallopings. It wasn't always the big like when he actually physically hurt me. It was the fact that I never felt like there was ever a time that I was ever good enough,
Mm-hmm.
ever, and that still weighs on me.
Right.
So I hate it. I hate that I allow that man to still bully me
Yeah.
in my mind. Like he's like in those movies, when you're in that, like you're in your spirit quest and you have to fight your darkest nightmare, and like the villain, like for some reason he's established in that core of one of the villains of my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those that I still have not been able to overcome.
Yeah.
And that's one of my I think that's one of the things that hurts the most and I take that out on other people.
Yeah.
Like, I'm angry at my dad for different reasons than I am my stepdad. I'm angry at my mom for different reasons than any of them. But I don't
Well,
see I don't see accountability or responsibility being taken by them in any way. And it's like, how are they expecting me to be the one that has to just get over this?
yeah. Well, like for me, like I've been down the path that our child has been going, and it's really hard for me to not be like super hyper aware and kind of paranoid about it because I'm concerned that it's going to end up really bad unintentionally at one point, and it's like you can't nobody plans for it. Nobody, and there's no control over it. And I think that's where my problem lies. It's like I don't have control over it, and the fact that he let it I felt that he just kind of poo-pooed it, so to speak, instead of being hyper vigilant and like hyper aware, and like I felt that he was just brushing it off when in reality I was just acting like at 100 where he was still acting at a normal considerable level, and I just went 0 to freaking the moon in 2 heartbeats. And then there's all the rampaging and so that's a big struggle for me. Is one of my toxic behaviors is my temper.
I get it. Mine is in my impatience, because
Yeah,
that
instant gratification's a big one.
yeah, once my impatience kicks in, then my temper starts to get triggered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a whole chain reaction. I'm with the psychology of it all. But yeah, so yeah, that has been, and it's thank you. I want to let the audience know that you're the one that suggested this special edition recording. Like, this is just us kind of checking in. We're diving. I think I'm going to release this episode kind of within right now, as opposed to it just being a regular linear season.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of a weird deep dive into our psyches and where we've been and where we're going, and
Yeah, and I think this will
you
help.
know.
I think this will help the audience understand where this podcast is going. Is we are going to be seeing us doing a lot more of our own self discovery and hearing more of our journey of recovery rather than hearing more of our journey of our past.
Yes.
Like, we've shared the story, about where we were. I really
Yep.
want people to see where we're going.
Yes.
And there's a lot of
Yes.
work there. I've got so many things in the pot that I'm so excited to tell the listeners about, but that one's until I know more. I don't want to spoil anything. So,
Yes. To
but yeah,
be continued. To be fair, we will continue.
excellent.